Hi guys, we're back for another Lunch and Learn, and I have a question for all of you guys. Now, birds all have feathers to make them fly. If you think that's true, everyone flap your hands or your arms like a bird. And if you think it's false, I need you guys to make a bird sound. Well, the answer is actually false. Birds have feathers, actually not to make them fly, but to keep them nice and warm for camouflage and for mate attraction. In fact, do penguins fly? No, they don't. Do ostriches fly? They do not. Do chicken McNuggets fly? I hope not, especially at dinner time. If you did do that, that's inappropriate behavior. But the reason actually birds have feathers is to keep them nice and warm, camouflage, and for lots of different reasons. So speaking of birds that fly, you guys are going to be meeting two of our birds that actually are in our animal show that reaches out to over 10,000 guests each summer, and they fly right over your heads. Their names are Kito, the white-crested turaco, and Tazz, the laughing kookaburra.
So Tazz is a laughing kookaburra, and these are birds that are native to Australia. They are actually the largest member of the kingfisher family, and of course, as a kingfisher, they do feed occasionally on fish, but they also will eat things like insects, they will eat small mammals, small reptiles, small birds, and basically anything that they can catch in that great big beak of theirs. Now, kookaburras are classic sit and wait predators. They will sit up in a tree or down on a low branch and simply watch for the prey to go by. And when it does, they make that quick, fast flight down to it, grab it in that big, strong beak that they have. Now, here's where things get a little interesting though, because if it was a bird like a raptor, the raptor would use their feet in order to subdue that prey, and the sharp hooked beak would come into play by getting it up into smaller pieces to swallow it down. However, in the case of a kookaburra, everything that they eat is swallowed in one big bite. Now, if that's just a nice juicy cockroach, that's pretty easy to see how that will go down. But what if they do catch something like a snake? Well, what the kookaburra will do is something called prey tenderizing. So this is where they will actually grab that prey item with their sharp beak, and then they will give it a few good whacks on the ground several times, tenderizing that prey to make it go down a little bit more like Jell-O. So Tazz the kookaburra has been living here at the Akron Zoo for the last 10 years. He is 10 years old. He actually came to us as a very young bird from the Kookaburra SSP breeding program. And so he was bred to be an ambassador bird and share the kookaburra story right here at Akron Zoo. Quito is a white-crested turaco, and these are birds that are native to Africa. And they have some really beautiful colors on them. You of course see her white mohawk. We always say she looks a little bit like Mr. T. Any of you who grew up in the 80s will think that was funny. She also of course has her beautiful navy feathers and green feathers on her belly, but the colors that you're not going to see unless she is flying are the bright red colors under her wings. Now, turacos will actually use this bright red color under their wings as a warning sign. Believe it or not, these tiny little 200-gram birds are incredibly territorial, and family groups of turacos in Africa do not like visitors. And so in order to ward off potential other turacos that might think that their territory looks better than theirs, they will actually spread those wings out, make a very high-pitched alarm call, and that bright red, just like for us, means stop. That is what it means to the birds too. So it's a pretty interesting defense mechanism that they have. Now, the great thing about Quito is she was actually born right here at the Akron Zoo. She is 15 years old, and she's an example of an animal where her parents were not very experienced, not the best parents their first go around. A lot of people think that wild animals just instinctively are fantastic parents, know exactly what they are supposed to do. That is not always the case. And so when it was obvious that Quito was going to need to be hand-raised, she was actually incubated and hand-raised by our keeping staff here at the Akron Zoo. And because she is imprinted, which means that she relates more to humans than she would to another turaco, it was determined that she would be a great ambassador for the Akron Zoo, and she certainly is.
Hopefully you like seeing Tazz and Quito with their free flights. If you guys want to see them in person, please come to our Wild World Animal Show that starts June, July, and August actually Wednesday through Sunday. It's only $1 to see that, and you can see lots of different other educational animal ambassadors in our Wild World Animal Show. But right now, we're going to do a little craft time with Autumn.
Hi, I'm Autumn at the Akron Zoo, and I hope you had as much fun watching Kito and Tazz as I did. It's so much fun to watch birds in flight. We wanted to give you a chance to actually make some things that you can fly at home. So we have two projects here. One is a long flyer, which is very much like Andean Condors. They fly very long distances. The other one is going to be a speedy flyer, very much like a Peregrine Falcon. So stay tuned. We are going to be making these step by step so that you can fly these at home as well. Let's start with our Peregrine Falcon. Now this is the fastest animal on Earth. Really, they don't get fast on the Earth, just a little above it. They can actually reach speeds of 200 miles per hour when they're in a dive. We're going to start off with our piece of paper. It should be 8.5 by 11, just like what you would put in your printer. And we are going to fold it in half lengthwise, kind of like a hot dog bun. We want to make sure that we match up those edges at the very end. We want it nice and even. Once you get that, we're going to do a nice fold. We want to make sure that we make that fold nice and sharp. Use your fingernails to go over it. Once we have that, you're going to open it back up. You can see your nice center line there. We're going to take the corner, the top corner, we're going to fold it down right in the center. So we want this edge to line up with that center fold that we just did. So take your time, make sure that it's nice and even. Once you get it there, we're going to go ahead and make that crease again, a nice sharp crease. We're going to do it the same way on the other side. Nice and sharp, make sure it's even right in the center, and we're going to make that crease. So right now we should be looking similar to this. If you can see like, oops, I'm not as even as I could be, I'm going to realign that, kind of work my crease so that it's nice and even. And then we're going to fold it in again. We want this edge here to line up with the center. So we're going to use our fingers to hold that center. We're going to line up that edge. Once we get that nice and lined up, we're going to go ahead and make that nice crease. Make sure we've got our nice point up here at the top. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We want this edge to line up in the center here. Again, we want to make sure that we're nice and even so that both sides match. Make sure we keep our point nice and sharp. Make that nice fold. So once we have it to this point, you should be looking a little bit like this now. We are going to fold it into the center with that nice crease we made at the beginning, making sure that both of our edges line up and match. Make sure that we work on all of those creases again. So now we've got this sort of airplane shape happening. We're going to put it on the side, and we're going to fold this down so that it lines up with our bottom fold. So we've got this edge we're going to be working on, getting right down, keeping a nice point on the end of our paper airplane. I know as the paper gets thicker, it gets a little bit tougher to fold. Just take your time, work with it, make those nice sharp edges. We're going to do the same thing on the other side and fold those down. Once we get that all lined up, we're going to make that crease again, and we have our paper airplane that's going to go nice and fast. Next, we are going to make a paper airplane that's kind of like an Andean Condor. Now this airplane should fly a long distance. Just like the condors, they have been known to fly 180 miles in a day in search of food. So we're going to start this one the same way we did the other one. We are going to fold this in half, just like a hot dog bun, making sure that we get all of our edges nice and even and lined up. Might take a second to do that. There we go. Hold that down and make that nice crease. So we've got that nice crease going on. We're going to open it back up. We've got our center point marked. We're going to fold this corner in so that we line up directly with that center. So we've got that. We're going to make our nice sharp fold, our crease. We're going to line that up there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, making sure that we're nice and even. Fold that up. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. We're going to fold the top down so that our point lines up directly with where our other two pieces of paper join. We want to make sure that we keep the center lined up in the center. So we're going to line that right up there. And then once we get that nice and even, we're going to go ahead and make our crease. And use your fingernails again to make a nice sharp crease in there. So once you have that, we're going to do another fold. We're going to take this edge here and make sure that it lines up in the center. We'll do the same thing on this side. This edge will line up right in the center. We want to make sure that both of our sides are even and they match up as perfectly as possible. So there's one side. We're going to go ahead and fold this side in so that it matches up to. It may be a little tricky. We're going to match this up perfectly. Hold that down. We're going to fold that. And now you've completed that step. All right, we're going to do another fold. So we're going to fold this top so that the top lines up in the center and meets right here where our other two pieces of paper meet as well. And I just noticed that they're not as even as they should be. So I am going to work on trying to even them up a little bit better, doing my new fold before I fold this down. Now as we keep folding, our paper is going to get thicker, which is going to make it a little bit tougher to fold. So just be patient, do the best you can, work on making those folds nice and crisp and clean. So once you get that folded, we're going to turn it over so that you don't see any folds from this side. We're going to fold it in half. Back the other way. Again, we want to work on making sure that we line everything up. It may be a little difficult because the paper is getting so thick now. Make that nice fold. And then we're going to make one last fold on each side. We're going to fold this down, but we want to do it so that the edge of this side just touches this corner. We want to try to keep it, again, as even and neat as possible, making sure that we don't go too far down. So right there. Going to make that nice fold. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. I think I went over a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. All right. Fold that up. Hopefully yours looks a little more even than mine does. I have to go back in and refold some of this. We'll try it one more time. Here we go, that's a little bit better. Try it on this side. There we go, that's a little bit better. And we have completed our condor plane. So now that we've made both of our paper airplanes, we've got our falcon and we've got our condor, we're gonna see how well they do. Now, I've had it from an expert on paper airplanes here at the zoo named Munn that you gotta throw it softly. Don't try and whip it really hard. So let's try a condor first. Let's see how far our condor is gonna go. Oh, nice, it went pretty far. Let's see how fast our falcon flies. Well, it flew fast, but didn't make it as far as our condor did. So I hope you enjoyed making your paper airplanes. Try tweaking it to see if you can make it go even further or even faster. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again.